Hi guys, Mrs. Alberts here and welcome back to my channel. Let's begin. Okay, let's do some practice questions for KRISIS. Okay, just remember to download the worksheet so that you can make additional notes if you want to. They are available from my Instagram bio as well as my YouTube bio. There's a link that says downloads and then you can get these worksheets. So the first one, kies die correcte antwoord tussen hakies. So you have to choose the correct answer between brackets. Then they give you a sentence. Let's look at our two options, lighartige and ernstige. Lighartige means light-hearted, ernstig serious. 'n Krisis is 'n situasie waarin daar 'n ernstige probleem is wat vinnig hanteer moet word, of daar is 'n situasie wat lighartige probleem is. So a crisis is a situation wherein a problem needs to be handled quickly. So it cannot be a light-hearted problem, it has to be a serious problem that you need to handle quickly. Nommer 2, wat kan jy oor die spreker aflei deur na die titel van die gedig te kyk? What can you deduce about your speaker from just looking at the title? The speaker is experiencing a crisis. You could say the speaker is experiencing a crisis between his emotions and his reason. You could also have said that the speaker is experiencing an inner crisis. Wie is die spreker in hierdie gedig? Nommer 3, hoof, brein of kop. Who is the speaker in this poem? You could have said either just head, brain, or okay, kop is another word for head. So whoop whoop, there's a synonym. Nommer 4, verduidelik waarom hart en hoof met hoofletters geskryf word. Whenever they do anything with capital letters, it means that this is probably being personified. So if a heart and head is with capital letters, it means it's personification. Hart en hoof word as eie name gebruik. You could have said heart and head is being used as proper nouns. Hulle word as mense in 'n verhouding uitgebeeld. They are being portrayed as people in a relationship. Those are the reasons why hoof en hart is with capital letters. Number 5. Van watter besluit word in reël 1 gepraat? What decision are they referring to in line 1? Die besluit dat hart en hoof moet skei. It's the decision that heart and head must, I don't want to say divorce, but part. Okay. 6. Waaruit kan ons aflei dat dit 'n eensydige besluit is? Eensydige means one-sided. So what can you deduce, or what helps you to realize that this is a one-sided choice? The word "ak" in line 1. It's only head that makes this decision, so the word is "act." Now remember, ladies and gents, that these are just example answers. Normally in your memos of exam questions, they've got many options, or they will say something like anything that is similar to this. So you don't need to have word for word. Nommer 7, wat is die funksie van die aandagstreep in reël 1? What is the function of the aandagstreep? That is your dash in line 1. Dit verduidelik dat daar meer inligting volg oor wie die ons is wat moet skei. It explains to you that there's more information to follow about who the ons is that they are talking about. In number 8, haal een woord uit strofe 1 aan wat daarop dui dat die skeiding nie deeglik beplan is nie. So one word, quote, one word from stanza 1 that shows you that this parting wasn't planned thoroughly. Now, ladies and gents, when they say one word, you cannot write a sentence, you cannot write 3 words. They will only mark the first word that you write down. So even though you have onvoorbereid maybe somewhere in your sentence, or you know, it's the end of 3 words, they are not going to take that as correct. They will only mark the first word. So please note, anytime it's een woord, you can only write 1 word. Onvoorbereid means unprepared. Nommer 9, benoem die stylfiguur wat versreël 3 beklemtoon, haal aan om die antwoord te bewys. So you need to name the figure of, it's not really a figure of speech, it's a styling, I don't even know what the English is now. What are they using? to emphasize line 3, and you have to quote to substantiate your answer. Now it's alliterasie. Die weg was lieflik waar langs. Whenever you have to quote alliteration, you have to underline or highlight or circle the sounds that are being repeated. You can also say the W sound. So jy kan sê die W klank in, and then the sentence. Okay. Nommer 10, verduidelik die gebruik van die woord geleid. Gelei het is the original. Remember, this is Elise. Not that they asked that. Explain why they use the word geleid. The reason for that is for rhythm and rhyme. It is rymdwang. It's when they force a word to rhyme with something else. Nommer 11, gee een woord uit reël 3 wat daarop dui dat die verhouding tog aangenaam was. So you have to quote one word from line 3 that shows that this relationship actually was nice at some point. And the word is lieflik. It means lovely. 12, haal 'n frase uit reël 4 aan wat aandui dat die hart nie die skeiding aanvaar nie. So you have to quote a phrase from line 4 to show that the heart is not really ready for this parting. Now, a phrase, ladies and gents, means you cannot quote the entire sentence, so only part of it, and that part would be, al staar jy terug, even though you stare back. It shows that he is reluctant to walk away. 13, maar is 'n teenstellende voegwoord. Verduidelik die gebruik van hierdie tipe voegwoord in die gedig. Now, maar is a contrasting conjunction. Explain the use of this conjunction in this poem. Maar dui op wending. It shows a change in your poem. So it shows contrast. Even though this is the way it was, now it is this way. So it shows you a turn or a change in your poem. Die pad is nie aangenaam nie. Nommer 14. 14.1. Bewys dat hierdie stelling waar is deur 3 aparte woorde uit die gedig aan te haal. So it makes a statement. It says that this road is not lovely. It was not a lekker road. You have to quote 3 separate words. So that means words that do not stand next to each other. 3 separate words out of the poem that shows you that it wasn't a lekker road. It wasn't a good road. And those words are klowe, afgrond, en moeras. Klowe, it's your cliffs. Afgrond is a precipice, and moeras is a swamp. Those are all icky and dangerous places. 14.2, verduidelik die metafoor in reël 5. So that's the sentence where it talks about klowe en moerasse and things. Die verhouding word met 'n pad vergelyk wat op rowwe terrein is. Die verhouding word gevaarlik. So you have to explain the metaphor in line 5. And that metaphor with those words tells us that your relationship, which is being compared to a road, is on rough terrain, so it's becoming dangerous. Now, whenever you have to explain a metaphor, first say what is being compared to what, and then what the reason is for that comparison. What does it mean? What is the speaker trying to say? 15, noem 3 dinge waarvan die hoof die hart beskuldig. Now, here, ladies and gents, you can use your own words, or you can quote sentences or words or phrases from the poem, as long as you name the 3 things head is accusing heart of. Impulsiviteit, besluitloosheid of lafhartigheid. Impulsiviteit, impulsiveness, besluitloosheid, cannot make a decision. And then lastly, lafhartigheid, being a coward. 16, wat is die doel van die enjambement in reël 4 tot 5? What is the function or the reason they use enjambment from line 4 to 5? Dit versnel die tempo wat dui op dringendheid en gejaagdheid. Dit word noodsaaklik om die verhouding te beëindig. Now, whenever you see enjambment, it has a few recurring functions, or the same type of functions. Enjambment normally shows tempo increasing, which means that in this case it shows that there is an urgency or a rush to make sure that this relationship comes to an end. They can also ask, and as you'll see as we go on to later questions, it binds poems together or phrases together or ideas together. Nommer 17, wat is die kerngedagte van die oktaaf? What is the main idea of the octave? Die redes vir die verhouding wat verbreek moet word. Dit beskryf die pad wat die hart en hoof gevolg het. So it's the reasons why this relationship needs to be ended. It describes the path, a figurative path that heart and head followed. 18 verwys na die sestet. Wat beteken dit dat die hartgas en gasheer, seremoniemeester en dienaar was? So you have to now go to the sestet, which is your next stanza. What does it mean that Hart was the host and the guest, the MC and the clown? Dit dui op Hart se kontrasterende natuur. It shows Hart's contradicting nature, and that life was a party with Hart, but in the same breath it was also very dangerous. So it shows that contrasting nature of Hart. 18.2 kies die korrekte antwoord. Die seremoniemeester en die nar is 'n voorbeeld van. Now you've got your MC and clown. Kontras, inversie, metafoor, vergelyking. This is a contrast, and you need to know that when you study your poem, look at the notes. Make sure that the sentences that is highlighted with the explanations, that you start to know these things. So seremoniemeester en nar cannot be anything else but the contrast as indicated by the notes. It's not inversie, it's not a metaphor, even though things are being compared here. This line, this phrase was not mentioned in the notes as being a metaphor, so you cannot then try and say that. So make sure that you know which ones are your contrasts, which ones are your metaphors. 19, verduidelik die gebruik van die dubbelpunt. Ladies and gents, dubbelpunt, always the same thing. Double-punt, your colon is there to tell the reader that an explanation is about to follow. And then you have to look at what was said before that colon, and then you can even add to your answer and say, this, it explains why this happened. So in this case, the colon explains what is meant by the contrast. So just look at that line in line 10 and you'll see where your colon is, and it follows the contrasts, and that means that now we're going to explain what is meant by the contrasts. Nummer 20, wie se dwaase raad het die hoof verwar? Die hart. It's a very straightforward question. Which foolish or whose foolish advice did hoof find confusing? Which one confused hoof? And it's the heart's foolish. Why am I struggling? I'm saying like I speak a different language. There I go again. It is heart that confused head with his foolish advice. There we go. 21. Haal die persoonlike voornaamwoorde aan wat vir jou sê dat die hoof en hart in gesprek is. You need to quote the personal pronouns that shows you that hoof en hart is in a conversation, and those words are ek, jy en jou. 22. Haal 3 opeenvolgende woorde aan uit versreël 13 om te bewys dat die hoof finaal besluit om afskeid van die hart te neem. So 3 consecutive words. Ladies and gents, as I said previously, if they ask you one word, it's one word only. If they ask you 3 words, it has to be 3 consecutive words, not separate words like we had on the previous slide. It is consecutive words, and it has to be out of the right line as well. So line 13, 3 consecutive words to show that head has finally made the decision to part from heart, and that is the words kermis is verby. The fair is over, the party is over. 23, verduidelik die gebruik van die retoriese vraag in reël 14. Explain the use of the rhetorical question in line 14. Die hoof is moedeloos geredeneer en verwag nie meer 'n antwoord nie. He is tired of debating this issue, and he does not expect really an answer. He is just making his point and continuing. 24, wat is die kerngedagte van die sestet? So now again they ask you the main idea of the sestet. Here the decision is being discussed. The reasons why this decision is of importance. Okay, die gedig is 'n abstrakte gedig, 'n allegorie. This is a fill in the correct word into the sentence or into the paragraph. These ones are difficult, I know, especially when they don't give you the words to fill in. Most of the time for first additional language, they should give you the words, but there will come a time when they don't. So try and understand what is happening before the gaps in the sentence. So when we look at this one, it says, die spreker wil eerder staat maak op. Then we start with the gaps. So the speaker wants to rely rather on, and then we look at a gap. Die verstand, so something about the mind, he would rather rely on something of the mind than something of the heart. So that would be an attribute. He would rather rely on the reasonability of the mind, or the rationality of the mind, or the soberness of the mind, rather than the emotion or over-emotional side of heart. 26. Die hart en verstand kan nie geskei word nie, verduidelik die ironie in hierdie stelling. There is irony in the fact that we cannot part heart and mind from each other. The reason is because even though both of them are in the same body, they give you two contrasting messages, and that makes it difficult to decide which one to listen to. So that is ironic. Also, the fact that the one thing that causes us so much pain is the one thing we cannot get rid of, because it is, you know, a pumping thing that keeps you alive. Now, honestly, please, I do know that emotions isn't in your heart. I am not an idiot. But for the sake of this poem, we are looking at heart as emotion and head as reason. I know there are some kids out there who's very sciencey and will tell me everything is from the mind. I know. 27. Dink jy dat 'n mens die hart en die verstand kan skei? Motiveer jou antwoord. Whenever you see a dink jy, be very careful. I know it's your own opinion, but they do mark very strict. When I give things, I say goeie motivering. But in an exam situation, it will have lots of things you can possibly say. They place you in a box. You have to be able to answer the question firstly. That's what they're going to look at. Did you answer the question? Secondly, was it in a language that they could understand? And then also, did you contradict yourself maybe? Sometimes you say yes, but your motivation is actually a no. So be very careful when you answer your own question, your own opinion questions. And then finally, 28, wat is die thema van die gedig? It's the inner crisis, or the fight, or now I can't remember what the word stryd is. The crisis between heart and mind. So theme of the poem, they can ask you the message of the poem. Go and look at the notes that I gave you, the notes that you can download, and try and see if you can find your theme and your messages, and study those, because they will come up in one form or another in exams. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you've got any questions, you can follow me on Instagram at Afrikaans Classroom. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos, like and share.